All right, y'all. It's the new SEC podcast. Thank you for tuning in to our recap of week 4. Fun week. Lot to talk about. Oklahoma, Auburn, Memphis taking down Arkansas. We've got some G5 games. I mean, Vanderbilt, had 8 rushing touchdowns? They're going crazy. Thoughts on week 4, Hunter? Any takeaways?
First and foremost, what stands out is every home team won. Nick Saban was talking about it on game day. I think it was last week, how hard it is to play on the road in the SEC. Once again, proves true. Every home team won. Even those that were playing cross-conference games like Florida, Miami, just being a home team is huge. But what stands out, Oklahoma continuing what they've been doing and being a contender in the SEC. We could talk about some questionability around certain calls in that game or some things that happened. Some teams continuing what they're doing, like, Ole Miss continuing to prove their dominance. Mississippi State, after a rocky first half, continuing to show that they might need to be a ranked team. So there were some showings from SEC teams this week.
Definitely some showings from SEC teams and some actual tests for some SEC teams, right? The highest ranked SEC team playing this past week was Texas. They took on Sam Houston, so that wasn't that big of a test. Any takeaways from Archer's performance and what this might mean going forward?
I'm not letting it tell me anything. I'm not going to take it as, people are giving him the credit. I'm not taking it as, he's back. It was just took a few games to get him hot. And they've played essentially one team this year so far, and they lost that game. Like, I'm going to need to see Texas continue this into actual, SEC play and show that this is, something that they can replicate. So I'm not taking anything away from the Texas game. Like, good on Texas, big win, for the confidence, but I'm not taking anything away from it.
Yeah, still would like to see more on the ground rushing wise for Texas. Obviously, 5 touchdowns is impressive, but again, highest ranked team before the AP poll comes out. We're recording this on Sunday, but before the AP poll comes out, Texas is the highest ranked team in the SEC who played this week. We talked about Oklahoma, some questionable calls, but they always find a way to get it done. Mateer always finds himself in the end zone. What does this mean for Auburn? I guess that's probably more of a story there. Like, what do you think? Auburn's performance and the rest of the schedule.
You got some things to clean up from the game. It was a horrible special teams turnover that you hate to see. That you don't want that to happen. But you do have some things that you can look at and be like, damn, that shouldn't have happened. They thought they had the scoop and score on the fumble that was called back. The play down the sideline, that the Satania touchdowns. Like, you're hoping you get some of those things back. But looking at the performance wise, some O-line problems against a really good Oklahoma defense, but you had some O-line problems. Jackson Arnold potentially holding on to the ball a little bit too long. But what he did do is you saw that Oklahoma was going to give you the pass. They were going to stop the run at all costs. It's a lot of one-on-one matchups. And Arnold tested that pretty well. Like Cam Coleman, we didn't give him a shout out in Team of the Week, but he won his matchup constantly. The stat line doesn't show it. The stat line doesn't show it because he drew a penalty in the end zone, a really crucial penalty for pass interference, but he was really dominant in the matchup that he had for most of that game.
Super dominant. They had that one overthrown pass when he was in the end zone on the right side, and he obviously, I feel like the PI they called in the end zone on the left side was kind of a makeup call for some of the other calls in the game because the ball wasn't necessarily catchable. But the Guillory was holding his jersey the entire time. So Cam had him in fits. I mean, that little go route where he stopped and go, he's got guys there. I think Arnold figures it out even more when it comes to passing, because I feel like last year the story was they didn't really have receivers at Oklahoma. He's got dogs now. So this Auburn team, I think now I look at them and say they could knock some guys off in the SEC.
It could be A&M next week. Like this Auburn team, I think other teams like A&M, who Auburn plays next week, will try to do the same thing that Oklahoma did, force the pass. Like, we'll give you, if you're going to beat us in the air, you're going to beat us in the air. So be it.
Right.
But we're not going to let you run all over us. There's a lot of good receivers on Auburn who can make plays, and they were making good catches if Arnold just put the ball there. There were a couple times where
and quite frankly, most teams right now are running all over A&M. So I would like to see them try to stop that. And then I'd like to see Auburn continue to progress potentially in the air. So it'll be a fun one for sure.
Yeah.
This other game came on at 3:30. If you watched our previews, I was getting cooked. Bad pick, Randall. Tony Wedgeworth has been coming at me the last couple of weeks, but Ole Miss dominated Tulane. If there was ever a case to not have a G5 team in the playoff, we just watched this game play out in real time.
Yeah. Tulane, thought that they were going to put a little bit more, up in this game. We thought it was going to be a little bit closer. I had Ole Miss to win, but I did think it was going to be a little bit closer than this. Trinidad Chambliss, the truth, man.
Yeah.
No questions about the quarterback room at Ole Miss, except for who could be the starter going forward. You got two guys who I think can show out in the SEC. Chambliss offers so much to an Ole Miss team, running, throwing. He does have a lot to offer this team. That was a scary win from Ole Miss now going forward on the season.
That was very scary. I think if you're a Georgia fan, that changes how you look at that Ole Miss game. If you're an LSU fan, you're like, hey, we got to get the offense right. We're playing Ole Miss. And 112 rushing yards on the ground. And this is not a normal G5 team, a G5 team that people think are going to make the playoffs. A G5 team that beat Duke, beat Northwestern. I'm getting cooked in the comments about it. Like, this is an impressive performance. And I don't think you could have seen a better 2-game audition from any quarterback playing Arkansas and playing Tulane. So you got one with Trinidad for sure.
And I think this is a resume boosting win for Ole Miss down the line. Like, I'm not sure if Tulane's going to lose another game this year, except for maybe the Memphis game. Like, I think Tulane could hold on and maybe finish ranked, have that G5 spot. And now that looks really, really good for an Ole Miss team who knows what's going to happen with them. So good on Ole Miss. Team continuing to be an offensive powerhouse. But like you're saying, LSU next week needs to figure out what to do because they're not scoring at will right now. And if you got to keep up with the team scoring like Ole Miss has been, that could be an interesting game.
That could definitely be an interesting one for sure. And so there was really 2 more games that were major Power 4 versus Power 4. We'll go with the SEC one first. What did we learn about Missouri? What did we learn about South Carolina in that matchup in Como?
South Carolina offense bounced back a little bit. They're starting to find some rhythm. It looks a little bit like last year. We talked about Lenora Sellers year over year to date before this game, and it looks kind of similar. A little bit of a slower start that then propelled later on in the season. I think that this is the one that's going to start to jumpstart that. Even though they lost this game, we've seen them throwing the ball more effectively. Defense still did okay in this game. Not as good as they did up to this point. This was one of the better teams that they've played, or the best team that they've played. I think that South Carolina will be okay going forward. I think Missouri is going to be great going forward. They're continuing to have such a great running back. If want to watch our team of the week, we talked about Ahmad Hardy at length, but I think that both of these are 2 good teams in the SEC that it was just a good matchup.
Yeah, I think it's a good matchup. I think it's safe to say South Carolina should beat Clemson, right? Coming at the end of the season. But for Missouri, you got UMass coming up, then you're playing Alabama. Could be a different type of game. We'll see here. Those are the games where Missouri's kind of struggled, but this offensive line looks good. This running back looks good, and their defense looks pretty serviceable. South Carolina, don't wave the white flag just yet. I think you're still in it. I think Lenore just always needs 4 games to get right. I think that's just how it goes when you play for South Carolina for him. So
finding their receivers and just figuring out what the offense is going to be.
Yeah, that seems to be really it. And then we also had the college game day game of the week, Miami versus Florida. Everyone was talking about Napier, his job. Just a mixed bag of feelings. If you're a Florida fan, what are our thoughts here?
You got to make something has to change for Florida. Something has to change for Florida. It's top 5. Miami number 4 in the country. We'll see what happens with the AP poll that comes out today. Probably no change, but something's got to change. You can't continue to have this. Lagway had a couple of dropped passes that would have made his numbers better, but overall, like, this Florida team is just struggling offensively, really struggling. Defensively, I don't hate it.
Cold as hell. They're cold.
I don't hate it.
Yeah.
You give up 26 points to a Miami team, but they have a Heisman candidate at quarterback who's drastically improved this year over last year. I'm not saying that the defense could have won them this game, but you need to see something more offensively, and something's got to change. It could be a coach. It's just, I don't know who you get.
Yeah, I feel like I want to see them stretch the ball more down the field. When you watch the game, you can see a lot of deep passes from Lagway. I like the heart on that drive. I like the calls going into the fourth quarter, going for it on 4th down a couple times. I think at one point I saw that they were like 0 for 10 on 3rd down. So got to get better at your 3rd down play calling. Clearly, don't throw a pass where it's a 3rd and 3 and you have them slated to run 2 yards. Use Jaden Ballmore. When that one drive they scored, I don't think they ran a pass play at all.
They're going for so many high percentage throws that there's no There's no stretch, like you're saying. There's no risk because they're scared. I think they're scared to put Lagway in a position. They need to build some confidence. But like you keep setting yourself up in 3rd and 8 and 3rd and 7, but then you're throwing screens and high percentage throws. And we talked about the playmakers getting them involved, but you're asking them to do too much against a pretty good Miami defense now. Considering something's got to change. I don't know.
Something's got to change. That's probably
it could be a long year. It could be a long year for Florida. They play a lot of really good teams now.
I mean, that gauntlet is serious. And you got LSU, or you already played LSU. You got A&M, you got Georgia, you got a ton of great competition they're playing against. The next couple games in the schedule don't look too great, especially without an offense. There's not anybody in the SEC you're beating scoring on average probably 10 points a game.
Yeah, the only game that I think I'm favoring them in is Kentucky this year.
Yeah, and that's still a stretch.
Yeah, like I don't think that I like Mississippi State over them right now. I like obviously Texas A&M. I don't want to be down on Florida, but like I was giving them the benefit of the doubt coming into this game. Like I don't think that they get embarrassed. I took them plus points. It was a mistake, but I figured the offense would bounce back in a way and try to find something that works.
It's tough because we've seen it too. And you got Vernell Brown and, even that last drive, they had Eugene Wilson drop that pass on 4th down. Like they were in a position where they could have, I want to say tied or take the lead on that drive. And then obviously the camel on the straw's back broke, or however you say the saying. But the score is not as reflective as how wide the game actually was. Got to see more on offense. I mean, that's point blank period. The rest of the games were kind of what should have been just easy competition, but there was a major upset. Yeah. The American now, I think 6-0, or it has 6 upset games against Power 4 competition. Memphis is 4-0 against their last SEC opponents. Memphis at the AutoZone Liberty Bowl took out Arkansas in a really tough fumble from Mike Washington.
Arkansas, man, what happened?
Yeah,
it's
my Hogs.
Brutal.
No,
brutal.
I'm not a Hogs fan. I'm kidding.
No, but we root for the SEC teams in these games. You want to see a team that has such potential like Arkansas does right now be able to perform in games like this. I don't know how many times we have to see the same story of Arkansas taking a lead, going up big, allowing a comeback through some defensive lapses and offense taking their foot off the gas and losing in a 1-score game. It's the same story over and over and over and over. And, the offense is doing their job for the most part. I don't like to pin a game on one play, like the fumble, because, I think you were saying this, like 31 points, you expect to win a game with 31 points. But you let Memphis continue to make plays in the second half. They're not a bad team. They're a good team. Brendan Lewis is a decent quarterback. There was a lot of times that Arkansas found themselves behind the O-line, ready to make a play for 6-7 yard sack, and they couldn't complete the play, and then it turned into Brendan Lewis running for a first down. There were so many times that Arkansas defense had a chance to make a play that just didn't come to fruition.
And here's the reality: you let Memphis control the line of scrimmage. You let Memphis control the line of scrimmage. They had the leading rusher in the game, Sutton Smith. You let Brendan Lewis have his way running the ball. That is about the guys on D-line, the guys playing linebacker, and that's unacceptable. You're not going to win games in the SEC that you want to win and be the program you say you want to be if you're getting dominated on the line of scrimmage against G5 competition, period. It's not going to happen. And in the preview I talked about it, I was like, I'm an Arkansas. If I was an Arkansas fan, I would want to see my team control a game. When was the last time we've seen that? We don't see it. We always get these entertaining games where Sam Pittman's over there just ho-hum like, I hope we do this.
Yeah.
It never works.
Well, we were talking during the game and you had texted me and you're like, this feels kind of like the Oklahoma State game last year.
Yeah.
And I was like, it does. Like, it was like, that's a perfect way to put it, where they're dominant and then they start letting a team get back. And then, you make a mistake. I want to pose the question, if there's any Arkansas fans watching now, like if you think that you're better off letting Petrino retake the reins. I mean, from an offensive coordinator standpoint, he's putting this team in positions to win games. And, right now with Pittman, you're losing 1-score games. There's a lot of questions about, do you make a change at coach with what Petrino's doing successfully? And, historically, do you let him retake the reins, or is there someone else that you think could be a better coach for Arkansas? If there's any Arkansas fans listening, I want to pose that question to them, but I don't know. What
it's It's a reasonable question, and I don't know the financials behind his buyout. I know that's always a big factor, and do you let a coach go? But I'd have to say at this point, what you're not changing, you're accepting. And so I feel like if this is the standard of the program, keep riding with Pittman. I think if you let him go, I think it's reasonable. Like there's a lot of talent here. Taylor Green could very well be a top 3-round pick, like the way he's playing right now. Like this defense has talented players. They're gonna have guys get drafted. So something is just not right, and it could be a cultural thing. So I would start to look at alternatives and potential other coaches, because you look at this coaching cycle, and we'll wrap up here soon. But like Florida's going to be open potentially, Virginia Tech's open. You got to get the right guy in this spot, and either you figure it's Petrino right now and test it out and see if anything changes, or you go get your guy this offseason. But you might as well at this point see if Petrino's that guy.
Yeah. You got to do something. Yeah. I think there's, sunken cost or whatever. You don't want to just ride with something because it's there. You got to make some changes at some point. The track record now shows that close games just don't get won right now. And Arkansas is going to find themselves in close games this year. They play tough competition. They have one of the harder schedules in the SEC. So you want to put yourself in positions to win close games, because not every game is going to be in Arkansas State or an Alabama A&M.
No, definitely not. And I hate to see it, right? Hunter Yurachek, their AD, former AD for Houston, my alma mater, but obviously it's not working. And so just kind of wrapping up the SEC, any final learnings between LSU playing Southeastern and Louisiana, or Mississippi State playing Northern Illinois? We had a couple garbage games, we'll say, with Vanderbilt, Georgia State. Any learnings, any takeaways?
Nothing crazy. Vanderbilt got their get back from last year with Georgia State, as we expected them to. Mississippi State taking care of business after a slow first half. Really, that's it. We got some things coming next week, some big games. So we'll talk those. There's been some learnings, I guess, from college football around the country as a whole. I think that Notre Dame's win over Purdue, not necessarily a powerhouse, but continues to build the strength of schedule or resume for A&M. Saw Texas Tech in another big win this year over Utah. So now we're starting to get to the week 5, week 6, you start looking at playoff picture and what teams might be there as you go to the end of the season and start figuring out what SEC teams have a shot. But those were a couple big games. Michigan as well winning puts a little bit more oomph to Oklahoma's resume as well.
Yeah, I think the Big Ten kind of had a better week this week in terms of, I would say, notable games to watch. The Michigan-Nebraska game, I think Nebraska potentially deserves to get ranked after how close they played Michigan, 31-27. Rayola looks good. Underwood's a dog for a freshman. Yeah. We can go ahead and stop talking about Illinois, though. I'm done with that. Indiana 55 points. They got the former Cal quarterback. He's obviously playing really well. I'm hoping Indiana's schedule is a little bit better this year so we can see even more test. I want to see the drop from Illinois, the same drop I saw from South Carolina when they lost to Vanderbilt. I need enough with this. We got to get these Big Ten teams ranked. That was pathetic. Yeah. That was pathetic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I want to see a re-ranking of teams, not they can only drop so many spots. It needs to be re-ranked. Where do you realistically put Illinois in this after losing by 50? I think it was 53 points they lost by. Yeah. How do you take this team and put them anywhere into a conversation when they're playing a team like Indiana, who now has claim to a potential conversation?
I agree there. If the season was to end today based upon the AP previously, I don't see that as a top 12 team. You could maybe put Indiana in the top 12. I can understand that, but I don't see Illinois being a top 12 team in the country right now. I'd also probably move up. I'd move up Oklahoma. I'd probably move up Ole Miss offensively too.
I agree. Ole Miss could go up. I guess I got to look at it in the shuffling. We're recording here Sunday at noon, so we're waiting for the AP poll to come out, but that should tell us some more on how they're valuing these teams. Not that it really matters until the CFP rankings come out, but one thing at a time.
It's going to matter for next week, right? So we got Oregon, Penn State, big out of conference. Obviously, we got Georgia, Alabama next week. We'll be previewing that game if you watch our content. But for this week, Oregon played Oregon State. We didn't really learn much there. ACC seemed to be pretty rock chalk. Florida State's still playing cupcakes. Miami, respectable win.
Yeah.
That LSU Clemson win is not looking as impressive. And Fran Brown's still talking his junk. He's taking showers now since he won. things are starting to clear up here. Clemson's get them out of here. We're done.
Every LSU game now like doesn't look impressive, whether it's Clemson or Florida. Like nothing looks impressive on this LSU resume anymore. Not their fault. You play the guy in front of you, but the teams that they played now are terrible. So no, this is just a quick recap of the week in the SEC. We're going to start doing our game previews for next week, talking Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss as well, I believe. So we'll be knocking out these games. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully, you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss when we post and talk about your specific team. If there's something that you want to hear, be sure to let us know in the comments. But as always, I'm Hunter Ziesman, joined here by Randall Adet Jr. Thanks for listening and tuning in. Hit that like button, subscribe button, and we'll catch you next week.